Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into a source that's, well, it's pretty explosive, frankly.
It really is.
It's based on this long conversation with a, let's say, provocative mathematician, a thinker who claims his life boils down to two kind of wildly different
Yeah,
things.
the collapse of the world order
Mm,
and tropical fruit.
exactly. Tropical fruit and physics. It's a mix. But the core message, the thing he keeps coming back to, is incredibly serious.
Definitely. The main theme is that this period of stability, relatively speaking, that many of us grew up in,
Mhm.
especially, if you're under 50,
Right.
he says that's dissolving right now. His words are pretty stark. You're looking at the end.
The end of what, though?
The end of that artificial stagnation, that post-World War II setup, the status quo.
So our mission today is to pull out the key insights from this pretty sprawling discussion. We're going to focus on maybe three main buckets.
Sounds good.
What are they? First, the geopolitical stuff that's happening right now, the undoing, as he calls it. Second, this really controversial idea about science being, well, controlled or managed.
Hmm.
And finally, with all this heavy stuff, what does he actually suggest individuals do? How do you find meaning when everything seems to be shaking apart?
Okay. Let's start with the geopolitics then.
Yeah.
The immediate reality. He's arguing we're watching the slow rollout of a completely different world.
And that includes the disintegration of NATO. That's a huge claim.
It is. And he doesn't just leave it as theory. He points to things we're seeing, in real time. Conflicts playing out right now.
Right. It's hard to argue when you can literally turn on the TV or look online and see videos of hypersonic missiles, his words, slamming into a modern city.
Yeah.
He also flags that moment when Israel and the U.S. took direct hits from Iran. He calls the Persians one of the world's most remarkable civilizations. That whole event it scrambled the old expectations, didn't it?
Completely. And he draws a parallel, an important one, I think, to the Yom Kippur War back in '73.
How so?
He argues that war changed Israel fundamentally. It shifted from feeling, like this triumphal state to realizing its enemies were powerful, capable.
Yeah.
He suggests we're in a similar moment globally now. Assumptions held for, 70 years.
Gone. Just like that.
Rendered obsolete, yeah.
And the way war is fought is changing, too. We see these images. FPV drone warfare, first-person view.
It's chilling. His description is stark. Mechanical flying birds equipped to kill them, menacing individual soldiers.
But he also points out a kind of calculus, a measured approach in some cases, like the Iranian strikes on Israel.
Exactly. He notes they chose to not inflict maximal damage. He sees that as intentional, like a language of violence, a deliberate signal, not just raw destruction.
So if you, listening to this, feel like the world is uniquely chaotic and scary right now,
He has an explanation for that feeling,
which is,
that you've probably spent most, if not all, of your life inside what he calls an artificially stagnant bubble, particularly if you're, say, under 32.
born after the Soviet Union collapsed.
Right. You haven't really seen the deep structures of the world start to wobble and crack like this before. So the tension feels unprecedented because the previous generation, maybe, didn't experience these kinds of structural risks quite so visibly.
Okay, that idea of structural risk, structural collapse, that brings us to the second big theme, right? This idea of humanity having immense power, but maybe not the wisdom to handle it.
Precisely. And he pinpoints this incredibly specific short period, just 6 months, between November 1952 and April 1953.
Wow, that's specific. What happened then?
He claims that's when humanity unlocked the two most powerful levers we've ever had.
Two levers. Okay, what are they?
Lever 1, the power of the nucleus, the H-bomb, fusion, the power to literally destroy everything.
Right, November 52.
Lever 2, just a few months later, April '53.
Hmm.
The discovery of the structure of DNA, the double helix.
Giving us the power to potentially design or redesign life itself.
Exactly. Physical annihilation on one hand, biological mastery on the other. Unlocked almost simultaneously,
And his argument is that we got this godlike power.
with no attendant increase in our wisdom. That's the phrase he uses. We didn't suddenly become wiser or more capable of managing these earth-shattering tools. That's the gap, the wisdom gap.
And we're seeing the consequences of that gap now, he argues, through what he calls high leverage ideas, small inputs, massive outputs.
That's it. Tiny changes triggering planetary shifts.
Like COVID-19, that's his prime biological example.
Yeah, he gets really specific. He talks about a 4 amino acid sequence inserted into spike protein. Tiny. Just 12 nucleotides.
And that was enough to, quote, shut down planet Earth for a couple of years. That's leverage.
Insane leverage, and you see it elsewhere too. In tech, he points to AI.
Not just AI generally, but one specific paper.
The 2017 paper, Attention is All You Need. That's the spark, he says, that led to the large language models that are changing everything now.
A single white paper.
Okay.
And the third example, finance.
Yeah, Satoshi, Bitcoin, specifically solving the double spend problem back in 0809.
Right, the problem of how you stop someone just copying digital money, like digital forgery.
Exactly. By solving that, Satoshi essentially brought the physical idea of conservation. You can't just create gold out of nowhere into the digital world. He gave us digital gold.
So these three things, a tiny genetic sequence, a research paper, a cryptographic solution, are now like driving forces of civilization.
According to the source, yes. And wielding that kind of power without the wisdom?
Yes.
Well, that leads directly into his most challenging claim.
Which is?
That scientific progress itself, at least in really fundamental areas, might be actively managed or even suppressed.
Okay, hold on. Managed science. He's saying progress isn't just happening organically.
In physics, specifically, that's his assertion. He claims physics has essentially gone stagnant since about 1973.
Stagnant since 73. How does he measure that? That seems like a bold claim.
He uses a very specific metric, changes to the Lagrangian. Yeah.
Okay, for those of us who aren't theoretical physicists, why is that the benchmark?
Right, so the Lagrangian is basically, think of it like the master equation for a physical system. It holds all the rules for the particles, the forces, how everything interacts.
Okay.
If you discover something fundamentally new, a new particle, a new force, you have to change the Lagrangian to include it. His point is, the core Lagrangian, the one describing the standard model of particle physics, hasn't fundamentally changed since it was solidified around 1973.
And why hasn't it changed, according to him?
Because, and this is the core of it, a new idea in physics changes the balance of power in the world.
Wow. Okay, so the implication is what? Governments are deliberately slowing down physics to keep the current power balance.
That's the chilling implication. And he supports this with something called the born secret doctrine.
Born secret? What's that?
It's a legal concept apparently unique to physicists in the U.S. He claims they're the only profession without full First Amendment protection for their own ideas.
How does that work?
It stems from the idea of restricted data, tied to the Atomic Energy Acts and even the old Espionage Act. Essentially, if a physicist discovers something, even privately, that's deemed vital to national security, the idea itself is considered classified from the moment of conception. Born secret.
So you could be prosecuted for discussing your own breakthrough.
Potentially, yes, because the idea belongs to the state, in a sense, for security reasons.
That sounds dystopian. Does he give any historical basis for why this would even exist?
He points back to Rutherford, 1911. Rutherford has this thought, maybe there's a neutral version of the proton, just an idea.
Yeah.
That idea leads to discovering the neutron. The neutron leads to understanding nuclear chain reactions. Chain reactions lead to the atomic bomb.
And the bomb completely rewrites global power.
Exactly. So one physicist's theoretical musing fundamentally altered the world. He argues that that risk is why fundamental physics is now, as he sees it, managed.
This narrative of managed reality, managed science, this is where the Jeffrey Epstein claims come in, isn't it?
So that's
Deeply controversial.
Extremely. He doesn't portray Epstein as just a financier. He calls him a construct.
A construct of what?
Of intelligence elements is the implication. He claims Epstein wasn't just mingling with scientists, but knew a tremendous amount about the speaker's own highly technical work and was connected into places like the Harvard math department.
That's quite an accusation. Did he offer anything concrete to back that up, beyond Epstein's known associations?
He points to things like Epstein funding and hosting very niche, high-level science conferences. Things on quantum gravity, for example, like one called Confronting Gravity.
Stuff that seems way outside the usual interests of a supposed financier.
Right. The source suggests the purpose of this construct wasn't just influence peddling, but maybe running multiple programs, including keeping, quote, a periscope on everything that was interesting in cutting-edge science.
A way to monitor, maybe control, potentially disruptive discovery.
That's the suggested motive, yes.
Okay.
Identify them early, manage the implications.
Okay, so if we follow this logic, that power structures actively manage science and information, then other weird things like government statements on UFOs might look different too.
Exactly. He mentions the government admitting it ran at least one fake special access program about UFOs, or UAPs as they're called now.
A fake program. Why do that?
Well, the source offers a couple of possibilities. Maybe it's just a distraction, keep the public looking over there.
War?
Or maybe it's strategic deception aimed at rivals. Make China, Russia, Iran think the U.S. has some kind of exotic, game-changing technology that it doesn't actually possess.
So they waste time and money trying to catch up to a phantom.
Right. It fits the narrative of a carefully managed reality.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. From potentially managed science to the undeniable reality of AI, he seems to push back against the usual singularity is coming, panic.
He does. He finds that whole narrative a bit expected, almost like it's pre-programmed, or
Mhm.
an LLM expectation itself, like the AI is telling us the story it thinks we want to hear about its own arrival.
So he's not worried about artificial general intelligence taking over.
Not in the way people usually talk about it. He thinks we're focusing on the wrong thing. There's a present disruption we're ignoring, he argues.
Which is,
AlphaFold 3.
right, the AI that solved protein folding, how proteins physically assemble themselves. Why does he see that as the bigger deal right now?
Because it gives us immediate, almost terrifying power. Protein folding dictates function. If you can predict the fold, you can start designing proteins with specific functions.
Meaning what? Custom
Go on.
enzymes? Nanobots?
Potentially, yes. Or highly targeted bioweapons.
Yeah.
Radically new medicines. It's a tool for biological design that exists now. It's already shifting the power balance while everyone's debating whether AGI will become conscious.
That connects to another really uncomfortable idea he has, doesn't it? About us. About humans.
Yes. The idea that humans are, in his words, more or less LLMs ourselves.
Ouch. What does he mean by that?
He argues that true intelligence, creativity, problem solving, that's actually a last resort for us. Most of the time we're running scripts.
Scripts.
Yeah. Think about daily conversations, greetings, small talk, reciting opinions, workplace jargon. He says the very fact that AI can mimic human language so well proves how much of our communication is just repetitive, predictable patterns.
So we're biological autocompletes most of the time.
That's the sobering suggestion. And the economic consequence, he thinks, is huge.
Because AI will automate all that repetition.
Exactly. Every repetitive behavior. He even argues that our education system largely trains us for those repetitive script-following roles.
Leaving what? What jobs survive?
Things that require genuinely non-repetitive action, deep synthesis, or fundamental human trust. He mentions high-level law or strategic thinking as examples, things you can't easily script.
Okay, so summing up so far. The stable world is cracking. We've got godlike power we can't handle wisely. Maybe key science is being held back. And we might just be glorified script readers about to be automated. That's a lot.
It is. It's a heavy picture. And he acknowledges the anxiety this creates.
Yeah, the feeling that the superstructures are failing. Family, tradition, nation, all seem less solid.
Right. And that erosion leads to a loss of connection to the future, a loss of concern for legacy. Why build for a future that feels completely uncertain or even doomed?
Which leads him to maybe his most surprising point, given his scientific background, the need for religion.
Yes. He explicitly says we are not meant to live without it.
Yeah.
But it's crucial how he frames it.
It's not about belief, necessarily.
Not primarily. He sees religion more as a vital psychological technology, a protective mechanism. Its function was to manage the gap between immediate struggles and ultimate meaning, to prevent, as he puts it, the unhooking of the proximate from the ultimate.
Can you unpack that? Proximate versus ultimate?
He uses a great analogy. Air hunger when diving. The immediate proximate feeling is panic, the desperate urge to surface now.
Right, which can kill you if you ascend too fast.
Exactly. The ultimate need is oxygen, which requires a calm, controlled ascent. Religion, historically, provided the framework, the rituals, the stories that helped people manage that gap between immediate pain or desire, the proximate, and the long-term goal or meaning, the ultimate.
So without that framework, we're constantly reacting to the immediate losing perspective, risking a kind of existential bends.
That's a good way to put it. We panic and surface too fast, losing sight of the bigger picture, the deeper meaning.
Okay. And what does he see as the ultimate necessary goal for humanity now?
Getting off Earth. Simple as that.
Going to the stars.
Yes. He views Earth as our womb, not our home. And it's closing time. The risks are just too high here.
All our eggs in one basket, basically.
One atmosphere, yeah. Vulnerable to nukes, pandemics, climate catastrophe, you name it. Staying here indefinitely is too risky.
Does he mention people like Elon Musk who are actively working on that?
He does. He credits Musk for being right about the core goal becoming multiplanetary. We need another sphere.
There's a but, isn't there?
A big one. He thinks Musk is fundamentally wrong about the how. He calls him, let's just say, lacking courage when it comes to the necessary science. You can't just engineer your way to the stars with current physics, he argues.
Ah, so it comes back to that managed science idea. We need the new physics, the stuff he thinks is suppressed, to actually make interstellar travel feasible.
Precisely. We need those breakthroughs that change the Lagrangian, the ones that shift the balance of power.
Okay. So that's the grand vision. Escape the closing room. But that feels huge, maybe out of reach for most people right now. What about finding meaning here and now amidst the chaos?
Right, and despite the almost apocalyptic scale of his thinking, his advice for immediate meaning is surprisingly grounded, human scale, accessible.
Like what?
He says having children is unbeatable. It gives you a direct biological stake in the future, makes it real.
Okay, makes sense.
He also emphasizes just appreciating simple sensory joys. He talks about his love for tropical fruits like rambutan, experiencing something exotic and delicious.
Or art.
Yes, taking the time to really listen to something beautiful, like Pablo Casal's version of the Bach cello suites. Deep engagement with art.
And making an effort for experiences.
Crucially, yes. He advises inconveniencing yourself sometimes. Don't just optimize everything. Go out of your way to see a meteor shower with people you care about. Those shared moments of wonder, even if slightly inconvenient, are where real meaning often lies today.
So let's try to wrap this up. We've journeyed through a collapsing world order, terrifying new powers, potentially suppressed science, questions about our own human nature.
It's a complex, often dark picture. The post-war stability is gone. High-leverage tech like AI and biodesign give us immense power we're not wise enough to handle. And the very scientific leaps that might offer transcendence or escape could be being actively managed by existing power structures.
And caught in the middle is the individual, feeling the foundations shake, maybe losing faith in old structures like family or nation, struggling for meaning.
And the advice we're left with is twofold, really. On one hand, hold on to the grand dream. Push for the stars, which requires demanding that new physics, that unsuppressed science.
And on the other hand,
Find profound meaning in the immediate, the tangible.
yes.
Connection, children, sensory beauty, shared experiences. Those are available now.
He leaves us with one final, really provocative challenge, doesn't he? Aimed right at the listener.
Yeah. He says basically, get out of this moment where everybody's worried about narcissism and drama. Tune out the noise.
And crucially, stop with the issue about belief when you look at traditions or big ideas.
Right. Don't get hung up on whether you literally believe every part of a religious text or a grand vision. Just engage with them. Engage with the high-value traditions. Dream the big dreams anyway.
And those big dreams, he includes his own theoretical work there at the end, right? Something about time.
Yes. The idea, apparently central to his own unpublished physics of a universe where there is no longer an arrow of time.
Meaning time doesn't just flow forwards.
If you could break that fundamental rule, the arrow of time, well, he suggests, then maybe, just maybe, you open a door. A theoretical path to a reality where you could live forever, theoretically.
Wow. From savoring a piece of fruit to potentially engineering immortality by rewriting the rules of time itself. That's quite a deep dive.
It certainly is. A lot to think about.